TATEMS is real simple. Here's the reminders pop-up screen. When you bring this screen up, you see the reminders for inspections. These are like the 90-day inspections for BIT or DOT. You have your Lube service reminders, and you can sort these columns by the next hours due, next due as far as kilometer or miles, or how many miles or kilometers to go. So you can put the most critical things up at the top. You can see these ones are way past due. You can do it by kilometers or miles to go, or hours to go if it's based on hours, or days to go if it's based upon a date range. And then you can also print this list out, and you can also include filters in this list if you want to have access to all the part numbers for each filter that might be included in a Lube service. Next over here we have taxes and registration, so you can keep track of your month that the registration is due, next due, your motor vehicle transport due, your HUT due, your highway use tax, your next insurance renewal, and then you have your department or area or location. You can sort it by any of these columns. Permits and inspections, so you have your next DOT inspection, your next 90-day permit, your next annual state inspection, your next over axle gross permit. This is on a per vehicle basis. Your next smoke or CVIP inspection. And then we go over here to the repairs needed. So this would show you any items that are pending that need to be done. And then you have your pending work orders. And so if you're using work orders, you typically wouldn't need to use repairs needed. So you have your pending work orders, and with work orders, you can, keep track of parts, labor, and then a lot of detail as far as the description of what the item is. And you have your driver's reminders, which is also could be reminders for any personnel. And so you've got your CDL number, the next physical, the next CDL renewal, the next motor vehicle report pull, the next drug test that needs to be done. And you have other personnel miscellaneous reminders. And over here you've got other endorsements. In this case, you could have any kind of miscellaneous free-form items that you want to add to the system. And you give it a description, you give it a number, and you put the next due date in, and then it tells you how many days to go before it's due. Over here you have parts inventory reminders. This will, as you get down to a minimum quantity on hand in the parts inventory, which get deducted while you're adding parts to work orders. Then if you've marked down a minimum quantity on hand before a reorder, those parts that need to be reordered will start showing up on this screen here. And then obviously you can print that out like you can all the other ones. Edit how soon to be notified. This is how far in advance you want to start seeing items that are due on this screen. So anything based upon an odometer, which is just going to be your Lube services, are going to be coming up 1,000 miles before they're due. It's going to start showing up on the reminder screen. If something is based upon an hours meter, which would be your Lube services as well, that's going to be coming up 10 hours before it's due. And anything based on days, which is pretty much everything else, is going to come up 10 days before it's due. That could be Lube services, that could be inspections, that could be taxes, registrations, and permits and inspections and so forth. So that's it for this quick overview of the reminders, and then we'll just kind of go over real quickly what you have here on the main screen. So you have your list of equipment here, and then you can also filter by equipment type or customer, location, department, or area. You can search by equipment number, description, make, model, year, license plate, capital equipment, purchase order number, VIN number, fuel card number, notes, or whether the equipment is out of service. And then you can also, you've got the ability to assign a certain customer, and that can be an internal entity for your company, or it can be somebody that you are doing work for, a location, a department or area. You also have the ability to enter in your taxes and registrations here, insurance information here, financials here. You can do coolant testing, oil analysis, and other miscellaneous details. This is stuff that might show up on your DOT unit information report. You update your odometer and hours for the equipment itself from here. Just click on that, enter in the odometer reading, the odometer date, click update and close, and it'll update this on the screen. And then over here you've got your Lube service sort of overview. You don't click on anything here. And you have your 90-day inspection dates. Now this can be 90-day. You can change this to 365 if you don't do 90s. So that would say 365. And then that puts in the last time it was done, the next time it's due. And if this is checked, that's going to show this piece of equipment on the reminders for these types of inspections. Over here you have your 90-day inspections. So to add an inspection, you click here, and that brings up this list so you can check off everything is okay real quick. And then if you've got maybe you had 2 items that were defective, you can just go ahead and mark that as defective and that as defective, and then put in your inspector's name, date inspected, and the odometer reading. Then close it. I'm going to go ahead and clear all, and then that creates that inspection. So you can do those real quick. On your Lube service, this is where you enter in your preventative maintenance items. You can have multiple Lube service types and intervals for each piece of equipment. You just create them on the fly. You can see if I click on this drop down, it shows you the mileage or kilometer interval, the hours meter interval if there is one, and a days interval if there is one. You can use all 3 if you want to, and whichever one comes first is what's going to cause this to show up in the reminder screen as it comes due. Needed maintenance and repairs, you have that to keep track of what needs to be done. You have repairs completed, parts for this equipment. Now those three tabs, basically you don't really need those if you're using work orders. So you can use them in addition, but it just kind of adds more work, so you don't really need them if you're using work orders. You've also got the fuel log to keep track of all of your fuel costs and cost per mile or price per mile and so forth. And then you can also choose the state that you bought or province you bought the fuel in. Over here you can double click and you can choose to put in a beginning and ending odometer reading for each province that the vehicle traveled in during that trip. So kind of help you there on your sort of your IFTA reporting. And then over here you've got your notes, so you can do free-form notes, put in as many notes as you want. As you type in, you get another field here. And then over here you have your attachments. Attachments are for any external attachments like a scanned document, a Word document, an Excel file, a photograph, anything you can attach it here. And then over here you have your filters, and this is just a list of part numbers of each of these filter types. These are what show up in the reminders printout for Lube Services if you choose to print out the filters along with the list of items that need to be taken care of. And then the next item here we have is tires and wheels. This is just informational. Tires and wheels, what tire was installed where and when. And if you have a tire size in here, that's what's going to show up in the unit information report for DOT requirements in some states. And then we have the work orders. And with work orders, you have the ability, I'm going to double click this. We'll open up a work order. And with work orders, you can enter in unlimited short descriptions, 65,000 characters in the detailed description. So you have a lot of room there to write stuff. Who did the service? That can either be your shop or it can be an outside vendor. And you can also use templates. So if you create a work order, you can down here, you can save it as a template. And then later on, you can reuse that work order or create a new work order based on that template. So it'll put all the short descriptions, the detailed description, all the labor and all the parts into the template, so that when you use it again in on a new piece of equipment or a new work order, you use the template and it automatically fills in all that more stuff for you, so it saves you a lot of time as far as typing goes. And it'd be real useful for things like Lube Services or preventative maintenance that you have to do over and over again. And then, so that's real quick. You also can do attachments on the work orders. So if you have a photograph, say the vehicle was in an accident, you could have a picture of what it looked like, and you could have that attached here so that you don't have to go looking for it on your hard drive. And you can just click on this little magnifying glass to open it up in whatever program Windows uses to open that file up in. And I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. We'll save and close. And the final thing here is inspections and permits. This just gives you a way to keep track, just a date of when an inspection or permit was done. This would be the interval. So you can see here, this one is 365. And then this date here on the right is going to show up as far as when it's going to be next due again. And you have a print button down here to show you all the permanent inspection items due for this month. It'll highlight them if we just click on here for October. And you can see here that the annual state inspections are due for this equipment. This one over here, it's highlighted for the tractor double sleeper for the DOT inspection and so forth. And then I think that's it for the main screen. We also have over here, we have under forms, you can choose to enter in customer information. Your drop-down list maintenance, this is for all little drop-downs on the program. You can edit or add to those lists from here. You can also do that on the fly from within the drop-down itself. Your parts inventory screen, this allows you to update and keep track of your parts. There is no check-in feature for parts, and there's no purchase order feature. Basically what you have here is, you can see here we've clicked on this part and it shows you all the places this part was installed, when and where. So TATEMS, when you're using work orders, keeps track of what part was installed when and where, and what it cost at the time of installation. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And we have also your personnel. So if we click on that and we go over here, we can see all the information we have for personnel. You can choose driver, fleet technician, a hire date. Here's all your reminders that you would set up over here on the right. This other tab here is for their address, emergency contact information. Here's where the free form licenses and permits and inspections or endorsements go. And then you can have other attachments for the driver themselves. So it can be a driver's license, it could be some sort of certification that they have. You can scan it and attach it here. And we'll just go ahead and close that. And we also have the work orders list. This is a list of all the work orders in your entire fleet over a specific date range. So if I go back a little bit here, we should be able to see some work orders listed. There we go. Then you can sort these by any of these columns, and you can also search by various columns as well. And so that's the work orders list. You can also edit a work order from this list here. So if I double click, I can open up that work order, make changes, and then save it without having to go to the equipment itself. I can do it by the work order. So I could look at the stuff that's like currently not completed, and then I can actually do a filter here to show only the pending work orders. So these ones here are pending, and then we can do the date requested sort, and it'll show us the oldest date requested at the top, most current one at the bottom, and then so that way you can work on the oldest stuff first if it's critical. And over here you have a notes list, and this gives you all the notes that have been entered into the system, and you can search by notes, and that might help you if you're using the notes to keep track of things like tools on board, tarps, generators, compressors, whatever it is that you might have assigned to a piece of equipment and you can't remember where it is. You could, if you have like an ID number or a serial number for that piece of for that unit, for that piece of equipment, I should say, then you can find out where it is actually installed. And so if I double click on this, it'll bring up that piece of equipment in the background and that note over here. And so that's it real quick. And then one final thing I'm just going to show you real quick as well. We've got lots of reports available. And then over here underneath my company information, you can enter in your company. And so that shows up on a lot of the printouts, especially the work orders. You can set up your default sales tax information, mark your inventory markup, whether it's going to be a markup or not. And you can have your default labor charge. Also for the personnel, you can have a hourly wage, and if you want to use that hourly wage as the work order labor for that particular person, you can check that box there, and then when you create a work order, and as long as they're chosen as a fleet technician, then when you choose that particular employee as doing that labor item, it's going to enter in their hourly wage. All right, so that's it for the quick overview of TATEMS. Hopefully that's been helpful for you, and thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one. Take care.